The burglar who died after tussling with a 78-year-old pensioner during a break-in in southeast London, and his family have a long history of targeting the elderly and vulnerable. Henry Vincent was being hunted by police for another distraction theft on a retired victim when he was stabbed during a burglary in Hither Green in the early hours of Wednesday. He and his family have also repeatedly featured on a Neighborhood Watch Facebook page set up in Orpington about local crooks. Here, Mail Online sets out the full and sorry history of misery the Vincents have wreaked on pensioners in southeast London and North Kent. In 2003, Vincent along with his father and 5 uncles were jailed for more than 28 years in total for a £450,000 building scam. The family would knock on the doors of elderly people in South London and Kent, telling them they had structural problems with their homes and quoting large fees to fix them. The victims were then pressured into paying, with some even being marched to the banks to withdraw funds. One woman in her 80s ended up signing over her £150,000 home to cover the cost of guttering and other building work. Vincent got 4.5 years for his part in the scam. His father got a 5.5-year term. Uncles Clifford, David, John, Jack, Robert, and Stephen were also caged with sentences between 6 years and 21 months. In 2007, Vincent's cousins, William and Amos, were both jailed for a series of distraction burglaries in southeast London. The pair would pose as officials from the Water Board and distract elderly victims. With 2 women in the Lewisham, aged 83 and 90, falling prey to their scam. After the pair were sent to prison, police appealed for the public's help in tracking down stolen war medals belonging to 82-year-old Ronald Butler. The medals included his father's First World War medals, his own medals from the RAF and his exemplary discharge papers, which he had hoped to pass on to his grandchildren. After Vincent was released from a 4-year jail term for the Cowboy Builders scam, he and his father conned an 81-year-old pensioner out of £72,000 to repair a single tile on his roof. A surveyor found little work had been completed, and proper repairs would have cost only £50. Vincent was jailed for 6 years in 2009, but was let out of prison early and went on to commit further offences. Vincent SNR went on the run after the scam and was not caught until 2010. He was jailed for 6 years in 2011. Kent Police's Detective Sergeant Benjamin Turner described their crime, saying, "This was a cowardly crime in stealing from this elderly and vulnerable man." These rogue builders give a bad name to tradesmen who just want to do an honest day's work. In 2011, Vincent's uncles James and Robert and his cousin Amos were jailed for a total of 17 years, again over attempts to charge elderly homeowners for unnecessary repairs. An elderly couple, aged 78 and 76, in Nottingham, South London were targeted, along with a 100-year-old man in Dartford, who had water splashed on his walls before being told the house needed work. Luckily, the police were monitoring the area following reports of road traders, and the trio were rounded up. Robert was sentenced to 8 years, James to 6 years and Amos to 40 months, all for fraud charges. In 2013, Vincent was put on Kent Police's most wanted list following a raid in Gravesend. Few details were given about the break-in due to the then-ongoing police investigation, and police have declined to say whether he was ever charged over the crime. In 2016, Vincent was again the subject of a police appeal, this time by the Met Police in Orpington, South East London. Again, few details were given about the then ongoing investigation, although detectives urged anyone with information to contact the SID. Around Christmas 2016, Vincent's uncle Robert, using the fake name Terry Griffiths, preyed on a 68-year-old man in Haringey, telling him his roof needed to be replaced because of a leak. The victim handed over £14,000 before Robert tried to convince him to sign over his £540,000 house. Luckily, the man told his solicitor of his plans and trading standards became involved. After evading police over break-in and fraud offences, Vincent was hunted over a distraction theft at the home of a pensioner in the pretty village of Farningham, Kent. Cyril Gooderl, 78, was targeted in November last year. A woman knocked on his front door of his Georgian home on the early afternoon looking distressed. She said she had been assaulted and was seeking refuge. But as she distracted the kind-hearted victim over coffee, a man, thought to be Vincent, got into the house and stole a box containing Mr. Gooderl's mother's wedding and engagement rings and his father's signet ring. Mr. Gooderl said today, "It made me feel so invaded. I felt cunt and cheated. It has definitely made me lose my faith in people. I trust people a lot less now. There was my mum's engagement and wedding rings and my father's signet ring and other jewelry.